Hi there. Welcome to the Brice update. You obviously received one of our cards and you are curious as to why we are moving to the Twin Cities.
The story we are about to tell you is not really about us. It's actually about God's plan for our life and why we're actually moving to the Twin Cities and some of the funny and strangely unexplainable experiences that have happened along the way.
Exactly.
Okay, 3 years ago, we moved to Pella, Iowa, which is in the middle of nowhere. But we moved here because for my entire life, my grandfather had always, when he was alive, told me that I should be in the ministry. And of course, I didn't want anything to do with that. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to know about it. I did not want to explore that whatsoever. And up to this point, last year, I basically had not. But because I knew I should have been, I always was trying to do something that was sort of related. And so 3 years ago, I started getting involved with a band called Now Serving 7. Thank you all for those of you that have supported us. And part of that was because we really felt like that the mission of what we're supposed to be doing was to bring together music and God in a way that could reach far beyond what we just could normally on our own. And so even though that was all sounded great and everything, I was never fully satisfied that I was actually fulfilling this calling that my grandfather had always mentioned to me, that I knew existed, but I did not want it to be there. So anyway, this little story that we're going to tell you is kind of the crashing down of our little life around us in such a way that has changed everything about what we're doing, but all for the better. About 1.5 years ago, that band got invited actually to be part of starting a new church in the Chicago area, and I was convinced that this was the answer to everything that I needed to do. It really seemed like I could use my skills, Tammy could use her skills, and we would go be a part of this. And so in my mind, as soon as I heard about it, I was packing the suitcases and telling Tammy, you better get on board because we're moving to Chicago. And about, 1 minute into that pitch I gave her, she told me, this does not sound right. But I, of course, ignored that because that's who I am. And I said, well, you better get used to it and get on board because we're moving. And so that sort of began this period of time that was very stressful. And I would like to happily report that we have come out on the other side.
Bob kept saying we were going to Chicago, and I kept saying, I just don't think we're going to Chicago, but I didn't know why. And this went on for many weeks, and I was getting really discouraged because I felt like I just kept hearing wait, but I wanted an answer on yes or no, not to wait. And what we did every morning was Bob got up and he took the kids to school, and I would get in the shower and I would literally cry and scream and yell at God, please talk to me, please let me know in black and white. I'm sick of this gray area and waiting. And there's an app on my phone that reads the Bible to me. And when I was talking to my sister that morning, my sister-in-law, she said, read Psalm 23. And I said, Psalm 23, which one is that? And she said, oh, the valleys and the pastures. I said, oh, great, that's going to help me. Fine. I was very frustrated. So I started Psalm 23 and Psalm 24, 25, 26. And then Psalm 27 played. And then it played again and again. And it started to play over and over again. And I wondered, is that the last one? Oh, there must be a glitch. And then I realized it maybe wasn't a glitch. Everything in Psalm 27 was exactly what I needed to hear. And it talked about even if my father and mother abandon me, teach me to live, O Lord, lead me along the right path, even though my enemies surround me. And at the very end it says, wait patiently for the Lord, be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. So God spoke to me in a very black and white manner through his word. And it was an amazing experience. And how I received that was I still needed to just wait, and that he's been with me this whole time.
Well, Tammy heard out of that wait and be patient, I got a lot more of the do not be afraid part of it. And so I was really thinking like, full steam ahead, let's get the luggage in the car and head to Chicago. Clearly that was not the case. And so the next morning I was actually praying, and I was just sort of pleading with the Lord, like, will you just tell Tammy to do what I want her to do, standard prayer. And I said, why will she not do what I want her to do? And I really felt like at that moment, the Lord spoke to me and said, why will you not do what I want you to do? And that really caught me off guard. And I thought, well, that's what I am doing. It's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing what you want me to do, right? Isn't that right? And I just really got a rather disappointing feeling of no. And so probably for the first time in my life, I really just surrendered and said, Lord, if this is not what you want me to do, then what do you want me to do? Just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do whatever it is. And at that moment, all of the things that I'd been running from for my whole life started coming back to me. And I knew that I was supposed to go to seminary, despite my best attempts to avoid it. And also that the Lord had provided a mentor for me, and I already knew who it was. And so our pastor that married us in Minneapolis is Wayne Swanson, and I knew that I was supposed to call him and ask him if he would be my mentor. So I picked up the phone, and I said, I don't know if this means anything to you, but I've just sort of had an experience, and I feel like I'm supposed to ask you if you will be my mentor. And the phone was completely silent. It's kind of like, hello? And he said, I've been wondering how long it was going to take you to make this phone call. And that, of course, caught me off guard. And he basically told me that at our wedding, that my grandfather and he had had a conversation. And my grandfather said, this kid has a call on his life. He doesn't know it and he doesn't understand it. And I don't know if he's ever going to figure it out. But if he does and I'm not around, will you kind of take over this for me? And so, that of course, it was extremely powerful. And he said, I've been asked numerous times to be a mentor and I've never said yes. But for you, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. And so that began this unfolding of, well, okay, how is this actually going to work?
So Bob called and said, we're not supposed to be a part of this church plan in Chicago. I'm supposed to go to seminary. And although it meant a move from Pella, which I was not thrilled about, I knew that, yes, this is what he meant by waiting for this. And this was what we were supposed to do. So began the journey of trying to figure all of this out. And I had remembered when we were dating in the first couple years of our marriage, Bob's grandfather wrote him a letter every single week with a $20 bill. But he did write him a letter every single week about all kinds of things. But a lot of those letters always said, don't forget your call in ministry and, this and that. And I said, let's look through those letters, which I had put in a binder in chronological order. And we took those out and we were up until 3 o'clock in the morning and we read each one and we were going through and we came upon a letter that said, Bob, if you decide one day to not deny this call on your life, here is the 12-step program on the things that you need to do to make that happen. And we started following the list.
And so began the journey of trying to figure out what seminary to go to and when to go there. I had no intention of ever going back to school, and so this was all overwhelming to me. I visited numerous seminaries. I went to Garrett in Chicago because my grandfather had graduated there from in the 30s, and I thought, well, maybe I'll feel some kind of connection here. That was... Then I went on the way back on that drive from Chicago when I was really disappointed. I saw this sign that said Northern Seminary, and I wondered, well, I've been on this road 100 times at least, and I've never seen this sign. So I stopped off there, and I thought, well, I'll just go check it out. And nobody was around because it was a Friday afternoon. I called and couldn't get anybody. And so I thought, what would my wife do? She would just go in the building and find somebody. So I went in there and just sort of wandered around in the hallways until I found somebody to talk to. And I actually had a really good time. He spent a lot of time with me, and I felt really refreshed about, well, maybe I could do this seminary thing after all. So took the marketing material and headed back home. And then later, when I was looking through that marketing material, I pulled out this sheet, and the first thing is this 8.5 by 11 picture with a piece of rope that's being separated, and it says, "A cord with 3 strands is not easily broken." And I just sort of froze at that moment, because earlier when we had been praying with Wayne, he said, "I keep getting this word cord. Does that mean anything to you?" Because I don't know if it's like a musical chord or some other kind of chord, but I just get the word cord. And there it was, like right in front of my face. And so for a moment, I thought, well, this is great news, because we are going to Chicago after all, going to be still part of the church plant. Can't wait to call Tammy and give her the good news. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm doing it again. I'm taking it all over and making it what I want it to be. And so I prayed about it, and I realized that the cord was really a tether back to Wayne, to the Twin Cities. And so there was something in the Twin Cities that I needed to pay more attention to. And at that moment, I didn't know what it was.
So, Twin Cities. Bob receives information from Bethel Seminary, and he loves it. He said, let's go check it out. That's where Wayne went. And so I said, okay, that sounds great. But isn't there another seminary about a mile away, like Luther Seminary? And he was, oh, yeah, we don't need to go there. Bethel's it. Oh, it's Bethel. And so I said, we're not going all the way up there and not going to Luther Seminary. So I got on the phone, I called anyone there for us to come, and I set up an appointment. And when we got up there, I said, oh, by the way, we have an appointment tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock at Luther. And when we were at Bethel, I asked a lot of questions, because they seemed to be a little bit inflexible with our situation and when we're going to move up there and that sort of thing. And then we got to Luther Seminary.
Admittedly, when Tammy said, oh, by the way, I made an appointment, I was livid, because I thought, why are we wasting our time with this? I already got this all figured out. But I have learned by now that I should listen to Tammy. So we went to Luther. We met with Andy in the admissions office, and within probably the first 30 to 40 seconds, I knew this is where I need to go to school. And Tammy knew it too, and Andy knew it too, and everybody had a round of high fives. And I went to the restroom thinking, oh man, we're getting this all taken care of. Came back from the restroom and found Tammy. And Andy, it's going to be okay. And I thought, what happened? I was gone for like 2 minutes. Well, Tammy and I both knew that this is where I was going to go to school, and we knew that that meant we were going to be moving, and there were going to be a lot of changes in our lives, and so that just sort of confirmed everything. And so Andy actually, on my behalf, went out and applied for a scholarship for me that I got, and so that greatly reduced the tuition costs. Otherwise, I would never be able to afford to go there. And then my parents have been extremely gracious in helping out as well. And so we're actually able to afford it. And now it's just been, I've been going online since last February, and we are now looking forward to the time that we can sell our house in Pella and move to the Twin Cities so that we can be up there by the summer of 2015. Well, if you've made it this far, then you either really care about us or you don't know how to turn this off.
Exactly.
Either way, we're fine with it. But we do want to take this opportunity to say that if you have any questions or you want to know any more about what's going on, please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
We like to talk.
Obviously. And in the meantime, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we hope to see you sometime in 2015.
Ditto. Yes.